I think most people think gold will drop again to $1,500. They didn't think it would reach 3,000, they thought 2,000 was the most. They don't know why the price of gold is going up, they think it's just a coincidence. But I still think that the price of gold will be going up, even if the doubt goes away and we have a better idea of what will happen with tariffs. Because of this, I think these deals will go through in the mining industry. This is because what's happening in the world economy is bad for the dollar and good for gold. Gold prices went down for 3 days because of news stories about possible tax cuts, but they went back up on Friday, trading around $3,262. Even with this short drop, the precious metal seems set on a long-term upward trend, which is supported by basic economic factors and large institutional buying. Peter Schiff, a famous analyst and supporter of gold, says that gold prices will keep going up no matter how trade problems are solved. Schiff says that deeper changes in the global economy that weaken the dollar also make gold more valuable and increase the number of deals in the mining sector. Long forecast analysts agree with this positive view. They think that gold will reach $3,661 per troy ounce by the middle of 2026 and go up even more to $3,910 by the end of the year. Most market experts think that gold prices probably won't go down much in the near future unless the economy gets a lot better and investors move their money to other places. Schiff makes it clear that gold shouldn't be seen as an investment. He talks about how central banks are buying gold on purpose, saying that they are doing so for basic economic reasons and not for speculation, and there are no signs that they will stop. As the world's central banks deal with complicated global issues and ongoing inflationary pressures, they are turning to gold more and more. Gold is a good way to protect yourself from inflation, which is a threat to currency reserves and national debt holdings in particular. Gold has a long history of being a safe haven asset and a store of value. Central banks use it carefully to keep the economy stable, diversify their reserves, and increase their monetary independence as the world economy becomes less stable. Before you watch the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any changes. Also, share the video with friends and anyone else who could benefit from it, to keep the US from having such huge trade gaps. The dollar will go down because of that. That's exactly what it means. Additionally, Scott Bessent has said that one reason why other countries are cheating and getting rich is that they are undervaluing their currencies. So he wants our trade partners' currencies to rise so that everyone has the same amount of money. The dollar has to go down if those other currencies go up. It makes sense for a central bank with a lot of dollars to want those dollars to go down. After all, even the US government wants those dollars to go down, so why join them? To own something that won't go down, you'll need to get rid of your dollars. There is also the matter of reinvesting trade surpluses in US funds. If the US runs smaller trade deficits, then the rest of the world won't have to do that as much. The main reason the US economy is in recession is of course why the trade gap will be smaller. We aren't getting as much. At this point, the only real way to deal with it is for Americans to cut back on their usage. We're in a slump if Americans cut back on spending, and 70% of GDP comes from super spending. What will the Fed do when there is a recession? Rates were lowered, which made it even less appealing to hold dollars. Also, what do you think we'll do? QE. We are going to print even more dollars that are worth less now. So all of this is good for gold because it makes people who own dollars want to get rid of them even more. What would you like to buy? To avoid this, gold is the best choice. Since Europe does have problems, Japan does have some problems though. So all of these other currencies are also bad. Even though they might not be as bad as the dollar, why use another bad foreign currency instead? Isn't it better to just have gold? Those things aren't wrong with it. That's why more central banks are doing it. They are just getting gold. After that, no one can punish you. Other governments can't do anything to your gold as long as it's in a safe in your own country. They were stupid to have a lot of US dollars and bonds, so they can't do to you what the US did to Putin. That's the message we sent. You're not smart if you hold a lot of US bonds. You leave yourself open to being hacked. I think most people think gold will drop again to $1,500. They didn't think it would reach 3,000. They thought 2,000 was the most. They don't know why the price of gold is going up. They think it's just a coincidence. Now I've heard that some people say the gold is like a joke coin. There are people who bet on it even when they're not taking risks. There are no bets on it, that's the point. Other places are where people are playing. There is no gold at stake. When central banks buy gold, they're not taking a chance, they have a good reason for getting it, they know why they choose to buy it and won't stop. Peter Schiff says that gold has recently dropped to $3,200. This comes after it almost reached $3,500 a week and a half ago. Even with this short-term volatility, the prices of valuable metals have grown a lot in the past year, going from around $2,200 a year ago to where they are now by about 1,000%. When gold first hit $3,500 an ounce on April 22, 2025, it was a big deal in history. This high price happened at the same time that Wall Street was going up and the dollar was getting stronger after Trump criticized the head of the Federal Reserve. Schiff says that worries about a trade war are not the only reason for gold's strong performance. He says that the price of the metal was already going up before trade tensions got worse, which suggests that it is being driven by more fundamental economic reasons. Even though gold prices have gone down sometimes, they are still very high. This shows that investors still believe in the metal as a safe haven for their money in times of economic uncertainty and rising prices that last longer than short-term market problems or policy disagreements. We need to go back to the interview. I think the main thing that has pushed up the price of gold is that central banks know that the dollar's days as the reserve currency are numbered. They don't know how many days it has left, but they do know that each day it's getting shorter. Also, central banks need to switch dollars for some other kind of money. Gold is the best choice. That's what's taking place. You can see that central banks are getting more gold. They still only have a very small amount of gold in their stores. Because of this, they have a lot of cash reserves to sell, mostly dollars. I think that most of the money that central banks want to get rid of is US dollars and use gold instead. But I think that buyers, both individual and institutional, will figure out what's going on and want to follow suit. They are going to want to get rid of some of their bonds and fixed income investments and put gold in their place. Because of this, I believe that the businessman will grow a lot over time for gold. I also think that demand from central banks will keep going up. I believe the price can only go up from here. It doesn't mean it can't go down on a path that leads up. We've backed off. About 2 weeks ago, we were almost at 3,500, now we're at 3,200, but we were about 2,200 people a year ago today. We now have $1,000 more. It's clear that gold is going up. It's not just the trade war either. Before the trade war, it was going up. There are a lot of pretty big companies in the gold space if you look at the GDXJ. If you compare the gold companies to say a US Fortune 500 company, they are pretty small. Every single one of them has a pretty small market cap, but the juniors we're putting more money into are much smaller than the average GDXJ business, and even less love has been given to them. But the thing is, you need to really build up your investments in these stocks over time. You might be able to change the price if you go in big. Because of this, we have put resources into filling these roles. They haven't gone up nearly as much as the big stocks we own though. We still get to share in the profits of the bigger businesses. Because of this, I believe that the businessman will grow a lot over time for gold. I also think that demand from central banks will keep going up. I believe the price can only go up from here. It doesn't mean it can't go down on a path that leads up. We've backed off. About 2 weeks ago, we were almost at 3,500, now we're at 3,200, but we were about 2,200 people a year ago today. We now have $1,000 more. It's clear that gold is going up. It's not just the trade war either. Before the trade war it was going up. There are a lot of pretty big companies in the gold space if you look at the GDXJ. If you compare the gold companies to say a US Fortune 500 company, they are pretty small. Every single one of them has a pretty small market cap. But the juniors we're putting more money into are much smaller than the average GDXJ business, and even less love has been given to them. But the thing is, you need to really build up your investments in these stocks over time. You might be able to change the price if you go in big. Because of this, we have put resources into filling these roles. They haven't gone up nearly as much as the big stocks we own, though we still get to share in the profits of the bigger businesses, but because of this overrating in these very small businesses, our work has been slower than usual. But we're ready to give up that in order to get what we want in the long run. Because I believe that once we really start to see money coming into this sector, which hasn't happened yet because small investors are still pulling their money out of the sector, In other words, they've been selling GDX and GDXJ every day this year, even when the gold stocks were going up. As soon as Wall Street realizes what central bankers have been saying all along, the gold sector will really start to get re-rated, and a lot of money that hasn't been invested in gold before will start to do so. Some of that money will want to go to these smaller stocks. After that, they'll really move. We bought those stocks because we think they will do much better than the bigger ones. So, we're giving up short-term success because we know that if we're right about what will happen, we'll do much better in the long run. We also wouldn't be able to get even close to what we have if we waited for these stocks to really move before trying to buy them. There are good positions that we would never be able to build up if everyone else was trying to buy the same stocks. The price of gold is going up because central banks want it and investors know it's valuable as a safe reserve asset. Long-term trends are still positive, even though they change. This is because the dollar is no longer the most important currency in the world. Gold is becoming a safer way to store value as central banks continue to diversify their reserves and buyers look for alternatives to bonds and other traditional assets. What do you think? Will gold keep going up, or do you think it will go down? Add your thoughts in the comments area. If the video speaks to you, please become a part of our community by subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications with the bell sign.